to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James. And this is a very special edition of the TTN Presents. I am doing a special review on the Human Centipede Part 3, the full sequence. Alright, I'm going to tell you something. I don't normally cuss in these reviews. This is a very special review because I am going to go all out and just tell you this movie, what you need to know about this movie. And what the actual fuck is this movie? Oh my god. Okay. There's one positive in this movie that I want to talk about. And that is the look of this movie. This movie actually looks well. It actually looks really good. But what the content of this movie, and so it's like, it's a double-edged sword here. It's like, if you want a good-looking movie, but the crap that's going to be seen on screen is going to look really good too. So it's going to be like, oh my god. All right. Let's start with the plot of this movie. The plot of this movie is basically this warden who is losing control of his prison. There's too many assaults on the prison guards. There's too many. I have no idea. The inmates aren't respecting the warden, so he's just slowly losing control of this prison. And then the governor shows up saying, like, you got like 2 weeks or you're fired. And so they so these two people who are from the stars from the previous movies, you got the doctor from the first one, and you got that little bug-eyed fat dude from the second one. So they're teaming up in this one to save their jobs. And they're taking the ideas from the first two films to make this movie because in the first two films are films within this world. So, and what we've watched in the first two films are just like whatever. So I don't know it. And so they have a nice cameo from the director Tom Six. And so this movie, I was not expecting. All right, when I knew what I was getting into with the Human Centipede, and so, but I have to backtrack coming up. I'm going to tell you what I thought of the first two movies. I did a review on the first movie. I can't remember what I said, but I liked the first one. It was a good horror movie for when it came out because it was different, it was original. And then the second one came out, which I absolutely hated. I absolutely hated that second one. So, that's like one of the very few rare movies that I've actually turned off and never returned back to it. Because I just didn't like it. It was grossing me out. And I have seen a lot of trauma movies where it's like, but I think it's how it's presented. This movie, it was shot in black and white. It was very gritty. It was like, ugh, God. That was the second one. Human Centipede 2 I was talking about. So, back to the third one. This one, it looked really good. That's probably the biggest positive I can give this, is that it actually stepped up their game in terms of looks. I mean, the other two looked really good. Like, the first one had its own style, and the second one was completely black and white, which I thought was a pretty cool aspect, but it was just grossing me out. And this one looked very different. It was bright. It was it just looked good. But what was on screen also looked good as well, so oh my god. Okay. All right, it's 5 minutes into this review. I gotta talk about something more than just. Okay, so we got this movie is just what WTF moments. All right, we got the main character William Boss. He I can't understand half the words he's saying in this movie. He's constantly yelling. He's doing obscene gestures with his tongue. I think he's racked up the biggest body count in this entire movie of him, because the prisoners who don't fit the criteria or can be whatever you want to call it, attached to the Human Centipede, he just automatically offs them. It's like with his like Rick hand cannon from Walking Dead. So, because one of them had a colostomy bag, one was in a wheelchair, and so he just like, you can't be assimilated into the hive. So he shot them both down. And one dude, he was actually like, you know what? I already eat my own shit. So guess what? You're off too. Boom. He kills that dude. And then he's creating his own little project for the people who are who are lifers. You see him like hacking off body parts and stuff like that. I mean, like full body part limbs, and we don't know what the hell he's doing until the final end of the movie. And so you get the other character, the accountant, who is the bug-eyed fat dude from the second movie. He has a Hitler stash, and I wasn't expecting that voice from him. I really wasn't. He had a southern accent. I wasn't expecting that. And then he has the hots for the secretary, who is grounds for sexual harassment all over the place for that one. But we learned that he got her dad out of jail, so it's like, all right. So she basically owes him, but there's a limit. But dear God, this movie. All right, I don't think I got this. It's just all right. I'm going to cut to the main part. The meat of this movie is the attaching of the ass to mouth sequence in this movie, because Tom Six, they kind of asked his permission, who's the director of this movie, who makes his cameo, and he's like, they asked him, hey, can we have your permission to use this concept for us? And like, yeah, but under one condition, is that I see the process of the ass being sewn to mouth. And so, and they show it. They do not leave nothing to the imagination anymore. Like, they show the needle going through the lips and through the butt cheeks and the connecting of the face to the butt cheek. I think it cuts like a brief second before skin to skin contact, but it's like that close before it cuts away. But that is not the worst part of this movie. They have these close up scenes of guys' asses, just sitting there up in the air, waiting for the face to be attached to it. Oh my God. I mean, I was not expecting this. I really wasn't. And I have seen trauma movies, all right? Trauma. If you've ever seen Poltergeist, there is a scene in that movie where this big fat dude, he sits down on the toilet and just takes a massive crap. But it's shown from the toilet bowl's perspective. But that, I have an easier time watching that scene than the scenes in this movie, because it's the tone of the movie. It's how it's presented. And oh my God, this movie. How many times do you want to say this? This movie. And so he gets this idea, like, from the accountant, the bug-eyed fat dude. He shows him it's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. So, and they have this doctor working there without a license, and then it's like, he's the only place in the whole world where he can work without a license. And then he decides to show the first two films to the prison guards, and then he goes in and proceeds to tell them, like, guess what? What you just watched is going to happen to you. And a riot breaks out, and the secretary, who's played by Brie Olson, she gets beaten up and seriously injured. and then somehow she ends up being integrated into the Human Centipede as well, and because they're walking through, they're taking the governor of the tour of this Human Centipede, and then it's like, hey, isn't that your secretary? And he's like, oh crap. And so, and then we find out what the lifers. This is a spoiler review. I don't care. Because whatever I tell you will not match up. It will be worse on screen. And so he goes and shows the governor what his little pet project was. And he's like, the human caterpillar. And then he is just hanging off the chain link fence in all dramatic fashion. And it cuts to him. It's literally just torsos sewn ass to mouth because they're lifers. And because they're going to die in prison no matter what. They don't have a set sentence. They're just like, they don't have a release date. They're going to die in prison no matter what. So they're just going to be sewn ass to mouth, laying in the dirt with no arms, no nothing. So no arms or legs. Okay. And then they try to justify how medically accurate this movie is by saying like they're going to have to give them anti-rejection medicine. And since there's little nutritious value to the shit that they're eating, they have to be injected with vitamins through, like, basically they're going to be injected with shots with the protein, the minerals, and whatever they need to keep them alive. And they're like, you know what? They actually said someone could do this for a lifetime. And I'm like, I don't think so. Their body needs more than that. And so, anyways, that's this movie. And this movie, I think this movie could have been at least 10 minutes shorter. This movie is like an hour and 40 minutes long. It could have been at least 10 minutes shorter because most of this movie is the warden being loud and incoherent. And he is doing the most obscene facial gestures in the world that bugged me so bad. It's not because of what he was doing. It was just like he's this very eccentric character. So of course he's going to be very like Jim Carrey-esque. He's going to be very using his body a lot to tell what he's feeling as well. And since this movie takes place in Texas, he's constantly sweating. And then, that brings me another scene in this movie. Because originally his plan before the Human Centipede was to castrate the entire jail population. And which we gladly see firsthand of what happens when you piss off the warden, and because he castrated this one inmate, and then in gory detail, and so he does this. Then he has his dream sequence where he is being gang raped by the inmates, but it's a dream. But instead of doing it the traditional way, he's like, we're going to make a fresh hole. And so they end up cutting us. They use a prison shank, cut a hole into his like side where his liver's at, and starts doing it that way. And he's like, oh my God. I think the prisoner had a line and he's like, oh, this actually feels pretty good, or something like along the lines of that. I'm like, oh my God. There's a couple actors in this movie, like, I can't believe they actually signed on for this role. One being Eric Roberts. You may recognize him from tons and tons of movies. Thing is, I actually do like him as an actor because he has ability to just be in random things. But this one is just like, oh my God, he should have been in something different. I like it, but I'm glad he just has a small role as the governor. Then the two actors who are the two main inmates that you will recognize from most stuff, like Debo from the Friday movies, the big black guy. He's who is the main bad guy, or the antagonist for the first movie, and then who else? And then there's this one bald guy with a beard. You may recognize him from Death Race. He's the one who's like, you can't kill. You can shoot me, you can wreck me, whatever, but you just can't kill me. And then that's when the what's it called? The Mustang GT kind of slams into him, killing him on the track. So it's like that. You'll recognize him from that and a bunch of other movies. But this is actually, I can't believe how long I'm actually talking about this movie. Anyways, that's really about it. Okay, since this is a special review, I don't have a rating. I don't know if I can recommend this, but I will recommend it just if you are that curious to see this movie. I was actually told I had to watch this movie. So I watched it because I wouldn't have never watched this movie anyways, because of the second one turned me away from the series forever, because I fully enjoyed the first one, and then just because it was different, not because of what the content, it was just different. And then the second one's like, oh, it's black and white. It's a pretty cool idea to do it that way, but I don't think there's any dialogue in the movie anyway. In that second one, it's all visuals, and then that movie just grossed me out. It really did. And then the third one kind of redeemed it a little bit. Even though the first one is still technically the best, this one it's definitely second best in my opinion. Just because the way it looks, it's bright. It doesn't look dark and gloomy. It doesn't have that depression, whatever you want to call it. And so it doesn't look all just doesn't look I can't think of the word. Whatever. So, anyways, it's just I don't know how to classify this movie. But anyways, that's really all I gotta say. My name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.